What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Dave, with the Military Millionaire Podcast, and I'm here with JP Leon, who just got out of the Army about a year ago. And this is going to be a fun episode because we're going to talk about a lot of different stuff as far as entrepreneurship in and around the military. JP was able to get started with being a barber and running a trucking company while active duty, and he's just continued on from there. And this is going to be a lot of fun because he has basically the yin to the yang of my job in the military, where I drove trucks and broke them and he fixed them. And he was able to take that, run with it, and build a business around it, outside of the military to do his own thing. And I think that's a lot of fun. I think that's cool. And I know a couple people who've done similar things, but I haven't had any of them on the show. And so it's fun for me to be able to talk through that and showcase things other than just, real estate on the show. And JP, welcome aboard, brother.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. First of all, I appreciate it, giving me the opportunity to tell the story. Been watching you guys for a minute through Facebook and listening to all your other stuff and all your guideful tips and stuff. So first of all, I want to say thank you and great program you put up for active duty and veterans. Great page. I wish I would have found out about it a lot sooner, but awesome stuff you got going there, Mr. David.
Hey, everybody. If you have not heard yet, we are doing a live in-person real estate event May 19th through the 21st in Tampa, Florida. I would love to see you there. We have 50 slots, 13 are already sold, and it's only open for War Room Mastermind members. So if you are a War Room member, make sure you head on over to the Circle community and grab your ticket right now, secure your spot. If you are not in the War Room Mastermind and you've been thinking about it, hit me up so I can get you that mastermind application and you can get enrolled and get a spot because they're selling quickly. We only announced the spots 2 days ago. And like I said, 13 of the 50 are already gone. So I'd love to have you there. We're going to have some really cool speakers. We're going to do some happy hour, some drinks, some hangouts, some networking, some restaurants, some really cool speakers, guest speakers, keynote, whatever. And we're going to do some property tours and some cold plunges and sauna action. So good times for all. Come hang out. See you in Tampa. Well, I appreciate it. Let's hear the 30,000 foot view. Who is JP and how did we get to here?
All right. So long story short, John Paul, Leon, whatever, they call me JP. Started off joining the military roughly right when I turned 19, about a few months after I turned 19, very beginning of the year. So fresh start. I think I shipped out about a week later, going into 2015. The reason why I joined the military was to buy a car. I didn't have a car. They stole my Honda, and I cutting hair at the time wasn't cutting it. I was only making about $14 a head or whatever. So it just simply wasn't enough. End of the day, making $200 whatever, it just wasn't enough. I wanted to buy a car. No credit union would approve me. So I was like, you know what? How would I get approved? Is maybe if I get a stable job. So I went, joined the Army. I almost chose a few different MOSs, but I always knew my dad growing up, he had his own dump truck business, and I always knew I wanted to do something with trucks. So when they gave me that option of heavy wheel vehicle mechanic, I was like, what's that? They were like, diesel mechanic. I was like, then that's exactly what I want. So thankfully, a gift and a curse, because if everyone knows in the military, anything support is just, they dog you, they're going to work you. We worked a lot of long hours, but that turned me into who I am today, built character. So I'm grateful for that. So once I joined, I didn't last. I was probably in AIT about 5, 6 months in, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy a car. And I was always looking in the area in Craigslist at the time because that's what was popping. It was Craigslist, and my dream car was an Evo. So I bought the car. I bought the car, and it was one of my best cars ever. Right, I had it for about 3 years while I was in the military. Thankfully, I've been blessed that that's kind of my way of investing. I buy these sport cars or something that holds great value. So when I got ready, I went overseas. And once I got back home, I always knew I wanted to do something with trucks. So I was ready to start a trucking business. But I didn't have enough funds at the time. I was E3 going into E4. I think I just made E4 coming back home. So right when I got back home, I was like, I had my deployment money saved up. It was tax season at the time. Everyone knows taxes in the military when you have a kid, great money back. But I still need a little bit more. So thankfully, as much as it hurt selling that car, I made that sacrifice, and I sold that car, and thankfully it was a great cash out. And actually that car went up in value a little bit. I was able to sell it for more than what I even bought it for. And I'm grateful for that. So I know everyone talks about real estate, but sometimes if you make the right investment, the right purchase of something rare, whatever, collectible, Rolexes, whatever, sometimes that stuff holds value and goes up in value. So that car, I was super sad. Started my trucking business, went great for about 2 to 3 years. A lot, it probably wasn't great. It was very stressful. It was a headache, at first starting. It's hard to find drivers. It's hard to, I had to switch companies a few times, leasing onto different companies. I tried to do my own authority, but since I was a new venture, they call it, everything's very expensive. Insurance through the roof. Anything over the road driving is very expensive. So from right there, it's just like I ended up finding a great company, which is UPS. I was hauling for UPS Freight. And this is actually pretty funny. So at the time, I think I had my uncle driving, and thanks to him, when he was driving for me, whenever he would come visit me here at Fort Gordon over here in Georgia area, I was cool with since I was a mechanic, and at the time I think I was a motor sergeant. She would allow me to park my semi truck in the loading dock on post. So it's pretty funny. So sometimes after work, I'd get out in uniform and I would go and turn wrenches and do my own PMs, my own services, because that's what I did in the military. So it was pretty cool, and I'd have all these people stop in their cars and come talk to me and be like, "What are you doing? Like working on a civilian truck?" They were so confused seeing me without my top, turning wrenches, changing my oil, and I'm like, "This is my truck, by the way." They're like, "Oh, okay," and it's cool. I networked a lot because of that. I met a lot of cool people that were like, "I want to get into that when I get out." But people didn't understand that America right now is really short on drivers, about 80,000, short on drivers, and it's a hard business. If you want to get into it, you got to grind, you got to find drivers, and nobody wants to be away from home no more nowadays. So it's hard, it's risky business, and thankfully that business lasted for me about 2 or 3 years. Then when COVID came up, my driver was ready to part ways at the time. I was probably on my second driver, second or third. He wanted to depart, and thankfully, once again, the truck, held great value. So I was, I had to kind of get out of that business. So I kept it kind of there at a standstill. It was running, it was doing good. And then during COVID, when I was prior to cutting hair, I was cutting a lot of hair in the military. So I was cutting hair and whatnot. And my dad kept telling me, open a shop, open a shop. And we're here where I'm at. Barbershops are nothing like they were back home. So thankfully, me and my brother-in-law, we dived in and we opened a shop in the heart of COVID. Everyone thought it was the worst idea ever. But at the end of the day, you always need a haircut. So, we wore a mask, we took precautions, used Germex. And thankfully, in less than a year now, we already have 8 barbers. Shop is running, beautiful shop, nice stations, nice big mirrors, lots of lights, and uh, I can't thank no more enough or express enough to my clients. Thank you to them, and thanks to these barbers that I have. I even have people move from Florida. A few of my barbers that willing to relocate as a civilian just to come help out with this shop because they saw the potential and the growth, and they're loving it to this day. None of them want to even go back home. So I can't express enough my gratitude towards my guys, my barbers, the clients, my brother-in-law, anyone that's helped me be a part, and start these businesses all while I was still active duty. At this time, I'm about an E5. I had a barbershop running and the trucking business running while still being in the military. Sorry, I made my intro kind of long, but yeah, that's it pretty much.
Man, no, no need to apologize. That's awesome. Okay, so man, and that was all while you were still in, and you've been out for about a year now.
Yes, sir. 1 year exactly. And well, it's September, so about a year and 3, 4 months now. Yeah.
We got out about the same time. And then, is that still running the barbershop, or have you moved on to other things since then? Or
So the over the road trucking business, I ended up once the barbershop was up and running, it was running really smooth. I got a little tired of the over the road business. A lot of back and forth. I would take 2 or 3 steps forward 1 month. Because to be honest with you, with one truck, it doesn't cut it, right? You got to pay your driver, you got to pay your overhead. It's a lot of overhead for over the road. So I got kind of tired. I saw the barbershop was doing really well. And at the time, I was cutting hair too. As soon as I would get out of work, I would literally go to the barbershop in uniform, change out, and start cutting hair. I was working like 7 days a week. I was grinding, working Saturdays, Sundays, cutting hair. Yeah, it was hilarious. Seeing some of my chain of command going through there, and they're like looking at me like, "Are you still in?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm still in. You'll see me in formation on Monday." It's funny. So I was doing both, just grinding it out, and I was like, you know what? The trucking was just another headache at the time because my driver was always calling me, and thanks to him, he was awesome, and I hope he sees this video. And he wanted to start his own business. So right there, I was like, you know what? You want to start your own trucking business? Why don't you take mine? And he was like, wait, what? So thankfully, we worked stuff out. He stayed with the same contract with UPS. I was able to sell him my truck, and he kept that going. So it felt good being able to help others start their own business. Someone that's never owned a business, and he was able to take off with that, and he hit the ground running hard. And to this day, he still has the truck, so that makes me feel good. I think now he wants to go a different a path, but he's still going through with that. And then the barbershop's running to this day. It ran good. We're going on our 3 year mark now in August. It's running smooth. Like I said, 8 barbers, thank God, keeps growing every day. And then recently I got back into a truck, but this time a little different. I'm doing local hauling dump truck work. I met a lady and her and her husband been running the business out here for years. And I would always run into her somehow. And I'm like, I think it's meant to be. Just, she kept that little spark in my back with the trucking business. And one day I went on a trip with her and, she talked to me numbers and we kind of expressed to each other what I thought, what she thought. She showed me numbers, and I'm like, you know what? It can't get more real than this. And I finally get the opportunity to drive a truck and be home every day with my boys. I was like, let's dig in. So now I just bought a dump truck a few weeks back, and I hit the ground running hard with that. That's currently what I'm doing. I still at the barbershop. Whenever it's raining and I'm not working the dump truck, I go and I cut hair on a slow day. So I'm still just dipping into both. It sounds crazy. People might not believe it. People won't buy it, but I'm always all over the place. When I'm driving truck, I'm coaching my son's baseball, I'm doing this, doing that. I'm just trying to stay busy, for my boys, set an example for them and the family, and just keep on thriving.
Man, that's cool. I don't know. Yeah, the dump truck thing's pretty cool. That's fun. And so when you're buying, I guess the question. So when you, so I know a little bit about the over the road truck game. I mean, we talked before this. That's kind of my job in the military and whatever. When you bought that first truck, I'm curious. What did your financing structure look like? I mean, you've got overhead. Like, how were you able to, you know, pull that off? As far as like, can you talk through some of the numbers that kind of go with that? Because I
Yeah,
know people hear like, oh, trucking business. Like, how the heck do you get into that?
yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, it's hard. You definitely. I jumped into it not actually having enough money to be real with you. It was really stressful, and at the time, like I said, E4 going into a, sergeant school BLC, my wife had to deal with all that, going back and forth with all these different companies and DOT inspection, whatnot. So it is hard, some finance lending companies require 20, 30% down. Then some will require less percent down if you get your CDL. So I was like, you know what? I think I could get my CDL through the military because that's what I was doing. I had my license stacked up and stuff. And this is another thing that I want to get out with a lot of, if you're still active duty, whatever, I want you guys to focus on this. Don't play that mom and dad game. If someone tells you no, go look for someone else to tell you yes, but do your research. Because I literally sat there one time, I was at a range and I had an E7. I think they were like all National Guard cadre or whatever. And he was showing me his day job that he drove over the road trucks. And I'm like, that's cool. I actually want to go get my license here soon. And he was like, well, you can't do that no more. And I'm like, really? I'm like, I had a friend that he got his CDL with the military waiver program. He's like, no, you can't do that no more. They stopped doing that years ago when I got mine, blah, blah, blah. People always going to try to shut you down and close you out. Don't listen. I didn't listen to that. I still went, every little chance I had, I'd run over to the order room. I do my own research. I found the form. I printed it out, had my commander signed it. I went back to Florida, took my CDL. All I had to take was 2 tests, no, 3 tests because I got my Class A. I took 3 tests online and I had my CDL Class A without taking any schools, nothing because I used my military waiver program. So right there, I saved myself a couple $1,000s and I was able to put less money down on the truck. I think I was able to come out with like 10% down. And I think at the time it was about like 15 grand down. And like I said, I had to sell my car. I made those sacrifices. Me and my wife shared one car. And then when I had a little bit of money, I'd go on Craigslist, I'd buy little Hondas, fixer uppers, whatever, motorcycles. I was always currently switching out. Those are my friends who remember I drove like 10 cars in one year and 3 motorcycles because I was just jumping around buying paid off stuff, whatever I could afford until the trucking, thankfully picked back up after like 2 years. And as I made more, more, as I progressed through the military ranks, then I made E5. Then, with years of service, I was making a little bit more money every year. BAH was going up till I was able to find myself again, because at one point, I won't lie, that first year was a very hard struggle. It was very, very hard. I wish I would have jumped into it with more money and I should have listened a little bit more to maybe my other truck driving friends, but my favorite saying is scared money don't make money, and I made it happen. So, I wouldn't be here today if I didn't take that jump. So,
It's funny to hear you talk about some of this stuff because I have a couple friends in my field who, in fact, 3 of them pop into my head from my truck company unit, who all got into over the road stuff when they first got out. One of them actually I might see tomorrow. I haven't seen him in a decade, and he was like,
yeah,
"Hey, you're in Springfield, right? I'm driving through tomorrow." I'm like, "Oh shoot!"
that's cool.
But the other one, when I first moved to Springfield on recruiting duty way back when, he happened to be dropping a load in LA, and I was stationed in San Diego the weekend that I graduated from recruiter school. And he was on a flatbed and he and I'd been talking, and he was like, "Bro, I'm driving an empty trailer back to Lebanon, which is 45 minutes east of where I'm at." And I was like, "How much is your fuel?" He's like, $700. I was like, "I'll pay your fuel,
Wow.
throw my car on your truck, and like, all my stuff." And literally, I have a picture of like my old Ford truck and my Volvo on the bed of his flatbed, and his company let me just pay the fuel. And they, for like $700, I moved my entire PCS to cross country
Wow.
on the passenger seat of his big rig. And then I
That's
definitely
awesome.
did not drive the truck because that would be wrong. But it was a good time. But that guy,
Yeah.
it's funny because so he bought that truck with like 3 or 4 months left in the Marine Corps, and he did the same thing, the waiver, and got a CDL. And I remember he was burning leave the last few months that he was in, terminal leave and all this other stuff. But he took 30 days of leave before his terminal leave. He had to come back and check in, and then he could take terminal leave. So he was taking leave here and there to take runs leading up to his terminal leave before he EAS. And he took a run back to Missouri and came back. And I got a phone call, and I'll never forget. This is the funniest thing ever. Because you got to think, I mean, you're a driver. He's on I-40. He's coming through Oklahoma. And I get this phone call from him, and he's like, Sergeant Pere, I'm not going to make it for my check-in in 2 days.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm like, what happened? He's like, and he sends me a picture. He's like, just check the picture I just sent you. And it's this truck all messed up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened, dude? He's like, so you know that tornado that came through Oklahoma? Like, yeah, like, so this dude's driving west on I-40 and got hit by a tornado jumping
Oh my
I-40.
God.
And like, so on leave, I'm like, how am I supposed to? So I'm like standing in front of First Sergeant, like, everyone knew what he was doing. Like, he's just driving a truck. It's not any different than driving anything else. He's a professionally trained Marine Corps driver. He has a CDL. Like, everything was done right. He's within his 8 hour, like, whatever. He just happened to get hit by a tornado. He's totally fine, but his truck is going to be in the
It's
shop for
down.
4 days,
Yeah.
Like, he'll be fine. He'll just be 3 days late. They extended his leave, and it was all good. But it was like the funniest conversation I've ever had to have with like a first sergeant. Like, yeah, so James is going to be 3 days late from leave. Can we please extend it and not run him UA? It's not his fault. He got hit by a tornado in his semi. Like,
Yeah, that's crazy.
it's pretty
Thank God
funny.
he's okay, but that is crazy. I think I remember that era with all the tornadoes. 'Cause I had a few friends that were also like trying to avoid that state and stuff. I think I remember. Yeah, that was rough time. I give him props.
What a
That's
mess.
crazy.
But yeah, yeah, I remember there's some interesting stories with that. But I mean, financing it was a little odd. But I mean, he made it happen. But it was rough for him as well at the beginning. But he's still doing it, and he's doing just fine. So
That's good. That's good. Props to him, man. Wish him many blessings on the road and be safe out there. A lot of crazy drivers, so that's awesome.
yeah. So okay, so I know you had mentioned when we first started all this, you were cutting hair at $14 a cut, and that wasn't
Hmm.
cutting it, pun intended. And so you join the army, and you do all these other things. You decide to go back, open your own barbershop. Here's where I'm curious: the numbers owning the barbershop, right? I would like to hear how that all pans out because I know there's a couple different ways that people can structure this, right? But I'm assuming, and I'll let you dig into it, but there's probably like you get like either your barbers are paying seat rent
Right.
or
Yes.
like so. Just curious if you can talk through kind of how those numbers pan out because I think it's really cool the different ways that you can structure how that pans out to where you're able to make money even if you're not cutting hair now and as the business goes.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So with the barbershop, obviously everybody right away shoots for like these commercial properties, right? And I knew just something in my gut. At first, I was trying to do what everyone else was doing. I was looking for a property right outside the base, right outside Fort Gordon, this road, right outside one of the gates, like every other post, right? Bunch of barbershops, bunch of alteration places. And I kind of wanted to put myself somewhere around there because I kept thinking soldiers, 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 right? Constant business, whatever. Then, as I really looked through, I didn't like a lot of those plazas. And then not only that, too, I didn't want to like respectfully, I didn't want to step on no one else's toes. I knew our shop was going to be different off the jump. just by our customer service, the type of music we're gonna play, having all of our barbers greet everyone, wear uniform. I knew what type of shop layout we wanted and whatnot. So I just drove around all day one day with my brother-in-law because at the time, since I was still active duty, I needed someone to help me to run that shop while I wasn't there. Right? You can't just jump in a shop, especially in a new town or new city, and be like, I'm gonna open up the shop by myself. All this overhead you're gonna cut all month just to pay bills. It's not gonna cut it, you know. So I knew I needed someone to help me, and I had to help them. You know, we needed more barbers as hands on as we could. At that time, I had we call him like an uncle, but he's somebody that I also jumped in the barbershop business with at one time in Florida. He's seen me since grow since I was a kid, and that's why I call him like an uncle. He came out here too, willing to help us cut hair for the first few months. So shout out to him, you know. And what happened was we kept looking for these plazas, and everything was either too expensive, right? 2,500, $3,000 a month. And I'm like, man, you know, I'm an E5. So at the time, I'm like, you know, I don't know if I could, maybe I could cut hair and make that money, whatever. But I was like, I don't know if that's enough because I know all these places I go into, we got to put, you know, stations, chairs, mirrors. That easily adds up 20 to 40 grand real quick. You know, flooring, painting, the sign on top of the plaza, the sign out by the street front area. It's just all these permits you got to put in and stuff. So I just knew I'm like, hold on. So thankfully, I was able to. We found an area in between these neighborhoods, right? And everyone would have probably thought it was crazy because everyone wants to go for the most commercialist thing possible, busy intersection. But instead, there's this plaza that was connected to like a neighborhood, and right in front of that neighborhood, there's a golfing community, a big neighborhood, and all these homes go for more than $500,000 and up. And then I have the neighborhood right behind me that probably has like easily thousands of homes, and they're still building new construction homes in there. So I pretty much, in my opinion, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this with a whole different game plan. I'm gonna cater to this neighborhood. There's no other businesses around this area. I want to put my barbershop here because there's people that could just literally drive 5 minutes down the road. There's people that could just cross the street. Everyone could just come get haircuts. And thankfully, that is exactly what happened. I have kids, young kids that come from these golf cart communities in their golf carts and their four wheelers. They park right in front of the shop and we laugh all the time. It's great. You got kids coming in bicycles. And then right next to us at the time, there was a Subway. So I already knew there was a Mexican restaurant, a Subway. And I'm like, this is it. People could come eat and they're going to see us here. So it's going to sell itself. And as soon as we started moving in, the subway left, and I wanted to cry. I'm like, why did the subway leave? Like now that's an empty plaza, you know, it's not gonna get as much walk through. But thankfully, there was a really successful ice cream shop in the mall, and they ended up moving their stuff all right next door to us. And shout out to them, Mr. and Mrs. Garvin. They're awesome. I love them. I hope they see this video because that they teach me so much. You know, they watch whatever I'm doing at the shop, me and my brother-in-law, and you know vice versa. You know, we watch out for each other's businesses, and they always come over and they give me helpful tips, guidance, info. He shows me a lot of tax write-off stuff, and that guy's awesome. You know, it's been an honor to meet him, and it's been great. You know, and ever since that, just like that, we cater to the neighborhoods now. And then thankfully, little by little, it picked up. Now we got nothing but soldiers coming in there as well, so they'll take the 15-20 minute drive and they'll come see us too. We do military discounts and we have booking apps. So a lot of them come in throughout the day in uniform, police officers, neighborhood people, firefighters. We've held car shows there before for the whole plaza. We make sure the Mexican restaurant next door is on board with us. He'll drop stuff down on his menu for that day. The ice cream gives out deals. And we just try to do anything for the community, right? We ended up painting all the parking lot lines for the whole plaza. We pressure washed the whole building without no one telling us to do so, nobody paying us to do so. But we know this is also going to feed us, right? We need the place to look trashy or messed up. So we took initiative doing all of that without the owner telling us to do that. None of that. We just did it for ourselves, just to make the place look cleaner. And people, you know, people are appreciative of that, and that's just a good feeling, you know.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's really cool that you went with the location where there's, you know, good foot traffic and not necessarily the same crowd, right?
Correct.
The barbershop that I went to in Oceanside when I was getting out of the Marine Corps was similar. Maybe not quite as close foot traffic wise to a neighborhood, but it wasn't on the main drag where all the service members went, but it was in a little strip next to some restaurants
Yeah.
and stuff. And
Yeah.
ironically, a bunch of my friends all like we didn't know that we went to the same barbershop until we started running into each other. And I'm like, oh shoot, we all use the exact same barber. And then turns out he's a awesome dude, and we all
Yeah.
go out of our way to bump into him. He ended up starting his own barbershop as well about a year and a half ago.
Nice.
So
Nice.
he's a good dude. But
And that's what I shoot for with my barbers, especially my young guys. I came from Florida. It's like I don't expect anyone to be my employee or my barber for years to come. I know it's a revolving circle, and I push them, and I tell them, hey, look, like this is how I did it. If you need help, and I know when they all watch this video, they know I'm being nothing but truthful and honest. I push them. We have talks every day when they stop cutting hair and we're done. We just hang out sometimes. We drink a beer, whatever, and we just talk for hours to the point our wives are calling us like, "Hey, where are you guys? You guys stop at 6, but it's 10 o'clock at night. We're just hanging out and talking numbers and business." And I expect people to keep growing past just that. I hope one day they all become owners, and maybe one day they're gonna want to partner with me if they don't have enough funds, and that's cool with me. I'll help them and we'll guide them. I have that layout now, that blueprint. We know what to do, how to do it, how to attack it. It worked. Nothing but 5-star reviews on Google, so obviously we're doing something right, right? And there's still much more room for improvement. I've thought about advertisement boards, whatever, vending machine, all that stuff that I haven't even got a chance to get to just because how busy I am, father of three, coaching, this, that. I want to get to that. Trust me. A lot of people walk in there and, hey, you should do this. Hey, you should do that. Everyone's going to have an opinion. Everyone wants to run a business differently. But to be honest with you, I take in what I want to take in, and I respectfully thank you. I'm always going to give people the respect, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right, I should do that. But in my head, I'm like, it's too easy for everyone to do this, do that, do this, but it's hard to do all that while you're also working. It's different if I'm just being a full-time supervisor and I'm just walking in there and collecting money and walking right out. Then it's like, hey, what are you doing with all this extra time? But also when I'm playing a team role, I'm in there, cutting hair, and I'm in there as well. It's hard for me to get out from that work day, and I still got to go wash towels at the laundromat. I still got to go do this. I still got to go pay the rent this week. I got to go run around, go do this, go do that. That's what people aren't understanding. And that's where, running a business, it's meant to be hard, right? If it was easy, everybody would do it. So it's meant to be hard. And don't get me wrong, I'm working, I'm doing all this now because eventually, once I have all this passive income, would love to just dive right into real estate. But for right now, I'm trying to find stuff that pays me religiously monthly, and then I want to dive into that. I'm just trying to open up more capital for right now, so then I could go off and venture and do other things. But for right now, I'm all about passive income, just because I think of long term. God forbid something happens to me today, I want my kids to have to be able to fall back on something. I left a business, I left a home, I left this, I left that, and that's mainly my goal. I always think long term. I'm always thinking, 1, 3, 5 year plans out. To me, a year blows by. The military taught me that a year is so fast. You do your deployment, you're back home. So to me, a year is nothing. I'm always, oh, next year I'm gonna do this, and I start working on it. My wife's always like, you need to relax, you need to chill. I'm always like, no, no, no. Like I'm impulsive, and it's a good and bad thing. But thankfully, being impulsive has once again allowed me to be where I want to be today with that stuff. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's next?
So next, I kind of threw it in there next. I would love to go hard with real estate. My wife's actually a realtor, very successful realtor out here in the area, thank God. And she sells a lot of homes. She's new construction. She sells and has a lot of buyers. And I would love to dive into real estate, but like I said, I was focusing so much on all this stuff. Like right when I got out the army, I haven't really got to turn to that yet. I keep telling myself I will, but I also enjoy myself and enjoy my things. Buying sports cars, this and that. I'm also trying to live my life just a little bit. So I am gonna get to that. I think next will be real estate. I don't know exactly yet if I want to dive into commercial, like owning a strip mall, plazas. That's why I'm trying to open up that more capital, right? You got to pay to play. So I need those passive incomes first because I kind of know the way I want to attack it. A lot of people jump into these smaller neighborhoods, they get smaller homes, and I respect that too. But I want to attack it in a different angle. My wife does it. I see numbers all the time. I know what neighborhoods are going for. I see what people are paying monthly for now that interest rates are up. And so I'm seeing everything and I'm just taking it day by day, but I'm also not going to wait too long because I do strongly believe one day in this world, there will be no more middle class. It's just going to be rich and poor. So I'm working hard now in my 20s, because by the time I get 40, I want to be able to, kick back a little bit and just coach or something like that. I'm not just going to stop working and say I'm retired. I think I just want to do something that I love and maybe just stick to coaching baseball with my kids. And, eventually that's my dream job is maybe like a high school coach, something where I could kind of mentor and give, young kids guidance. That's probably my dream job. But obviously that's not going to pay the bills or the lifestyle that I like, me and my wife and kids. So I got to work hard now, right? Or that's not ever going to be possible for me to do. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What advice would you give to service members who are thinking about starting up a little side hustle while they're on active duty?
I think the advice I could definitely say is just to definitely pursue something that you love doing, right? Be organic about it. Stop. There's too many people now with Instagram and TikTok, and it's like, oh, you should do this, or oh, you should do Turo because this, or you should do this, you know. And all respect, due respect to that, but sometimes some of these people are not even in the right zones or location to do this. Do your own research. A lot of these people have so many hidden talents or are really good at doing something, and people aren't pursuing that. So I would definitely say is once again, just be organic, be yourself. Stop worrying about others. Stop trying to. Next year's my year. Don't let social media distract you or make you think something that you're not. No offense, just be yourself, be true to yourself, chase your passion, and it will come. And once again, it's going to be hard, because if it was easy, everyone's going to do it. I always tell myself that. I tell everybody that it's going to be hard, it's going to be stressful, it's going to be a lot of paperwork that goes into it. If you don't know what you're doing, find a good CPA and let someone help you and guide you with the right paperwork to open your LLC, whatever you want to do. And just go about it that way. And I think whatever passion you find on your spare time, on your off time, do it. Because look at me, I was working 7 days a week. And if I didn't do that, the barbershop wouldn't be here. And I look back and be like, damn, I did that because I would never do that again. It was rough. I was working Sundays, Saturdays, cutting hair all day on my feet to go to formation the next day, run a few miles in PT. It was hard. And then just haircuts don't stop. It's such a revolving thing as you're building clients. It's just people are blowing you up weekly, religiously. I couldn't take a Saturday off, Sunday off, especially my whole first year. That's the grind year. So I tell people, just be yourself and take passion in what you do, and the money will come later. Don't worry about just too much the money. Don't do it just for the money. Especially when opening a business. Do it because that's something you like doing, and go from there.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think, yeah, you've got to really enjoy it, especially if you're trying to put in those extra hours, right? Like if you don't enjoy
Correct.
it, it's
Yeah.
never going to happen.
No, it's definitely hard.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Is there anything we didn't cover? Anything we missed that you want to touch on?
No, not really necessarily. No, like I said, it's just that, just like I said, I appreciate you for allowing to share the story and whatnot, and just I would say, how would I say this is, have your plan, have long-term plans, work on different. Don't let the military, if you guys are still in, just be your only source of income. If you're truly a hustler, if you're meant to be a businessman, you will pull through and figure it out. And it's okay for. One thing I learned, that the people next door, whenever we talk, it's like business will turn you cold blooded, right? You're gonna lose friends, and it's gonna come to that point, and no one likes it for it to get to that point, but it's gonna happen, right? You're gonna have people that are gonna try to feed off you and leech off you, whatever. But make sure your group of friends and family, and keep the ones close, that are actually truly happy for you and trying to help you. Because a lot of people tell you, oh, that don't do that, that's not gonna work, don't do this. But are they a businessman? Did they do that business? Did they own that? So
Mm,
choose the people you're getting your info from. Choose wisely. I Like I said, I'm here today. No one guided me. No one held my hand. I probably would be a lot further if I had the information and knowledge, if I actually took the time to, actually really do some more research and studying. But I just been, floating around and doing my own thing, just always trying to figure it out. I've lost money and gained money. It's not every time's going to be a win-win situation. I've lost, plenty of times on car deals, whatever. But thankfully, my wins have outweighed that. I bought cars pre-COVID, was able to sell them after COVID. Prices skyrocketed, other sports cars, and it's just money management's just huge, huge. Have that goal, and don't let set yourself boundaries and limits. Don't let your accounts or whatever fall past a certain number. That's that discipline. Have that discipline, and I think it'll get you far in life.
yeah, I
For
agree.
sure.
I think that's huge for sure.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, definitely agree. Well, if we've covered it all, where can people get a hold of you if they would like to reach out and just chat?
Yeah, so like for right now, I already have a lot of people on Instagram that DM me, whatever, that want to invest with me, or ask me for info guidance. I've had random followers hit me up. So Instagram, my high school name, but once again, I'm keeping it organic. So it's JP Shun, two E's and SHUNN, JP Shun. Eventually, I'll probably change that one day, being honest with you, as I get older. But you can reach me there. You can email me, Leon John P as in Papa at gmail.com. And I'll start floating around more often on your Facebook page. I'll start chiming in a little more. I'm not big on social media, like when it comes to me making posts or writing, but I am always watching and reading, and I'll DM somebody. So I'll try to be a little more active on your page now, and try to help people out and give people advice, because that's what I want to do. I want to help others at the end of the day. That's truly my finding, I think, and I hope everyone makes it, because everything is getting more expensive day by day, as you can see. So we got to work hard now. Don't wait. Everyone's wait or next year. Stop saying that. Everything's going more up. Look at the way real estate just shot up. So stop saying that. Groceries are getting expensive. Gas is expensive. Just start doing it today, now, tomorrow, whatever. I'll help you.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that. I feel that for sure. Well,
Yeah.
JP, thank you very much for joining us today. This has been fun. And
Yes, sir.
it's always nice to hear a different story than, well, not that they're all the same, but it's just nice to talk about things that we don't cover all the time, right? And you're, I believe, the
Yeah.
first civilian trucking barber that we've ever had on the show.
Yeah, yes,
So,
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you once again for your time and opportunity. I hope to talk to you more often now. And,
absolutely.
once again, I want to thank, my friends and family, my circle here in Augusta, Georgia, and back home, and my wife, of course. And, they push me every day. Having a family is definitely a pusher for sure. And so, like, I can't express enough thanks to all my friends, family, the barbershop, everyone that's helped me be to where I am today, and I hope to turn around and help everyone else and the ones that still need help and whatnot. So I appreciate it. Thank you.